children born next year will have the two combinations. And we may not experience their energy till maybe 30 years later, because that, or 20 years later when they grow up and they express their charts. So the transit of Saturn, because Saturn is also a planet that deals with karma, but that's not the subject today. I just wanted to say that you see that through the transits of eclipses, Saturn, nodal transits, very important to see. I'm going retrograde, so I have to just see which way that goes. So the soul learns from each life and develops. So basically what is happening is that as we come into the life, we develop and we move in, and then we leave the life and then we come back. So a very important concept in Vedic thought is that when you are born, the chart at that time is studied to see what are the issues you brought into this life. And the time that you die, that chart is known as Punya chart. Punya means what are the good deeds you have done. So it's almost like the Western concept of epitaph. But the chart at the time of your leaving is more important than the time of your coming together. Whereas we can only study the chart when we are born. But from the birth time to the time we die, we are creating a chart every year. Because that is what we are going to leave as a template at the end of our lives. So that chart of punya, that is called, of your good deeds, that is what is represented. So the life is, so the soul doesn't complete its journey, because it has to finish all this lifetime, and then it comes back again and again so that it can develop. So the more mature the soul, the greater the problems in life. So the more complicated chart you have, that means you're a much more mature soul. Sometimes as people, the young souls, they don't feel the energy in the same way. As you mature, you see your darkness more, because you have got a better understanding of it, you know, and you have, just like if you have a pristine white cloth, a little black dirt on it seems dirty. If it's nicely, brightly printed, you don't see any dirt, you know, you can't see anything. So as you mature, and the more complicated the chart, that means you have some bigger issues to deal with, and you've chosen that voluntarily. So Ketu is the planet for self-realization. So in the chart, Ketu represents that great need for moksha, for self-realization. And so in order to realize, we have to understand karma, because karma is what actions we are doing. And the whole idea of action is that karma is action both of present and past lives. So our present lives are a reaction to what we have done before. So don't think about past life that has gone behind, but think about even the last 10, 12 years. You may have done some things, choices you've made, that you have to deal with them today, you know. So that means that you're reacting to the situation, some choices you made. Those choices are already made. You can't undo the choice. Even a choice you made yesterday, you can't undo today. Actions of previous life have to be dealt with, and we have to be careful of the karma we create now. So in India, the thought among the great thinkers, I won't say average person, is that we should not be creating negative karma today, because we have to face it. You know, it's all cyclical. So what karma we create today will come tomorrow to haunt us if we are just careless with it. I think that's the point. So the chart at birth reflects the karma we have created so far, or collected so far. So whole concept of the birth chart is that that is a template of the karma you have collected up to the time of your birth. After that, you are still collecting karma. So that is not reflected in your birth chart. You see, that is why one has to understand that the birth chart doesn't have to grip you or control you. It's only that we work it out and we develop ourselves, we can understand that energy. But it is that karma collected as part of our birth chart that is up to the time. So there are 3 levels of karma that we are dealing with. One is called Sanchita, which is collected karma, which we cannot do anything about. Unfortunately, Jyotish gets tagged by that karma only. And most people will say, oh, it's fatalistic, you don't understand. But actually, the key to understanding Jyotish is that we understand that we have some karma. Just like you can't do anything about the Mars-Saturn conjunction next year. That is part of our some global karma that we have collected. We can't do anything about that. What we can do is, how are we going to react to it? So each one of us have collected karma. Everybody has it differently. And then the second karma is called prarabdha karma. This is the happening karma. So out of this collected karma, certain experiences which we are going to experience. And this is usually shown through the dashas, the timing and the transits. And the final karma is kriyamana karma. So if we have a collected karma and then certain experiences out of which we are going to experience, the third karma is, what are we going to do about it? That is the most important karma. So this is my circumstances. I'm in Cape Town. I'm born here. I'm living in 2015. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to react to these situations? So the third and the most important karma is the kriyamana karma, the reaction to your karma, because your reaction becomes the sanchita for tomorrow. So that means that it gets collected into the pot of karma for you to experience another day. So the cyclical nature of the karma is that if you're a spiritual yogi, which they teach in yoga and in all the spiritual disciplines, that you learn how to minimize the future karma. You learn how to minimize the future sorrow. You don't want to expand your future sorrow. You want to minimize it. So you have to understand the role of these 3 cyclical karmas. And one of the ways of minimizing the karma is leading a life of dharma. And dharma is spiritual responsibility that leads to good karma. That means that it's an ethical choice. Dharma is nothing but an ethical choice. That's something you have to do, some effort you have to make. It may be pleasant or unpleasant, but we have to do that. Influence of past actions are carried in our subconscious and the mind. So taking that into account, what we understand is that the past life issues are carried in our subconscious mind. I spoke about it right at the beginning. And the mind blocks our free will from acting and the way we would like to, and lets us make mistakes that create further issues. You see, the mind is what is responsible. And what is the mind in the natal chart? The mind is the moon. In Vedic astrology, we feel that the moon is the key planet to understand. And that is why everything is studied from the point of view of the moon. Because the storage of the karma, and today our talk is on the nodes of the moon. They're not nodes of the sun, they're nodes of the sun as well, that we could have another talk. But the karma that is a mind, of how the mind works. And I have talked to many spiritual teachers and people who teach kind of high philosophy. And the main thing that all the Vedic philosophy is trying to teach people is how to manage the mind. So, from an astrology point of view, is how to manage your moon. Not only that the moon is troublesome in your chart, it's troublesome by transit as well, because it changes daily. Today it's a nice moon because it's with Jupiter. So we are okay, but it could go with Mars tomorrow, then with the nodes. It would be eclipse. We have a full moon, a new moon, eclipse moon, with all the difficult planets, all within 1 month, you know. And the next time it comes in the same cycle, it has a different lunar energy, because the waxing cycle may be different, the waning cycle, the sign may be different. So you see, all that affects the equilibrium of the mind. So working with the mind and the subconscious of the mind, that is the key aspect in any chart. So, so the difficulties come from past life issues and the desires that were left unfulfilled. Karma we were created in previous lives now has to be paid for. Relationships to which we owe a karmic debt. So the main crisis comes is that we have this inbuilt desire that something has left unfulfilled. As astrologers, I'm sure a lot of times people say, am I going to meet my soulmate? That is a very common question that I get asked, you know, and people talk about it and this thing. But the thing is that we meet our soulmate if we have some unfinished karmic debt to them. So that concept is called as Rin Bandhana, the karmic ties, that we have some old karma to complete. But the soul in its subconscious has a lot of things that it feels it didn't finish. So it wants to finish those stories in this lifetime. And this is the only time it can finish it also. It can't finish it once it goes into after death. You can't finish it, because then you're in a similar state till you're reborn again. So therefore the life is very important to be able to understand and work with these issues. So this concept of the soulmate is, don't expect your soulmate to be easy. Because you have some issues to complete. Because if you have a story to complete with people, then the soulmate issues are strong. And when the debt is paid off, sometimes people move on. This concept of so this concept of Rin Bandhana is very interesting concept, because people have different levels of karmic stories with each other. So one person may have a bigger debt to pay, so they keep on desiring the person even after the other person has moved on, because your work hasn't completed and the other person has moved on. So people feel on many levels. It's not just relationships, even why sometimes people feed you, people give you gifts, they give you things, they feel it's because there is some ongoing story that you may have owed somebody something, or they may have owed you something, so they come and give you things, why you connect with people. And even with friends, you may have a long-term, long relationship, and then suddenly it's not there, because your story is complete. Maybe not fully complete, maybe you'll pick it up in another lifetime, but for this lifetime that may be complete. So Rin Bandhana, Rin means debt and Bandhana means ties, karmic ties that hold us together. Each relationship which we have has a past life connection. In some relationships we give more than we receive. You see, so any relationship that you're carrying, whether it's a friend or a lover or a married partner or something, there's some old karma that you're doing, and there is some debt that you have to work through, you have to receive. So in order to find moksha, it's not easy to find, because we find moksha when we learn to transcend our day-to-day issues and reconcile the past and be happy with the present. We are in search for eternal life where there is no death or unhappiness. Soul is at peace, happy and content. So you can be at peace with your life where you are. This is the beauty. Sometimes you see in India a lot that people don't have a lot materially, but they are content. So they could be in a state of enlightenment. They may not be in that higher state of enlightenment, but by understanding their path, whatever their path is, and accepting it, then there's a state of calmness and happiness there. If you're agitated or unhappy, that means that then the soul is not content. It needs to work it out. It has to find its journey. So the concept here is that in the first step to moksha is to let go of past lives. You know, that is the key thing, that we have to let go of past lives. This is usually done slowly by developing a mind concentrating on a higher self. But also it is connected to forgiveness. You know, you can see past life very clearly in the story of countries. And the only way a country can move on is not to engage always in old enmities, old issues. They have to heal the past to move on. But in our human psyche, we have to forgive, sometimes even very difficult issues, so that we don't hold on to it. But that's not the nature of a human being, and that's where the nodes are very responsible, because they don't allow you to let go, because their role is to hold on to things. Whereas the key idea is to let it go. That is the key aspect of it. So generally in studying of past life, we start with the chart itself. And we look at all the 9 planets. Jyotish doesn't look at outer planets. The main reason being that Jyotish was always an observational astrology. So the people looked at what they could observe with the naked eye, and the nodes were observable at the time of the eclipses. So beyond that, they did not study them in the main frame of the planet. So it was not because we have a lot of other shadowy things that we study, and not because they didn't consider those existed, but as part of the numerological significance and all the astrological, the 9 planets were studied. And all the 9 planets will give you both the good karma and the difficult karma we have to deal with. The strengths, weaknesses of planets are our own strengths and weaknesses. But the idea is not that that's it. If we have a debilitated planet or we have a strong planet, we should just be happy with it. It's about usage of the energy. That is the key aspect here. And basically the key areas as the subject today is Sun is the soul, Moon is the mind, Jupiter is blessings, Saturn is the karmic debts that have to be paid now. So those of you having any difficult Saturn transit, means there's something that you need to pay up now. So might as well do it. It's like the exam you have to sit, you have to work through. And Ketu is the past life and the desire for moksha. Rahu is the unfulfilled desire. So the South Node is the past life. And South Node is specifically connected with rejection, letting go. You know, about letting go of the old karma. North Node is consuming it. That's the whole conundrum about them. The one keeps on consuming, the other one says, let it go, let it go. But, you know, if as long as you consume, you have to then let go a lot more. But the nodes are, that is the thing. So here I just have some pictures. So this is the sun, which is the soul. Moon is the mind. So the moon is always pictured on a deer. So we see lots of box here. So, you know, the deer is always a symbol of the moon. And you see how the deer is very restless. So that's why the moon rides the deer. So it means he's trying to master the mind, because the deer is going everywhere. So the mind is not settled, and mind controls our subconscious reactions to the present. A crisis happens when we are unhappy with the present. So actually, moon is a very important key to your chart. And don't worry if your moon is in a bad place, because the whole idea is that first you recognize that you need to do something about it. You know, you may have a moon in the 8th house, 6th house, 12th house with different planets, because that's the nature of the mind. It's not just settled in your natal chart, it's not settled by transits. So that means that we have to do something about it. And that is why the ancients recognized the importance of moon as a key area in our chart. A moon is full of desires and dreams. A happiness moon feels comes from fulfilling these desires. This is the great illusion of Maya. The desires are never ending, and the more we feed them, the hungrier they become. So they say this also about the fire. Today we had a beautiful fire ceremony. But even with the fire, which is linked to desire, you keep on giving things to the fire, it becomes bigger and bigger. So in order to control the fire, today was a very good demonstration of that. You have to have a little container, and then you feed the fire only very good things. You give it pure ghee, and you give it all sorts of herbs and sandalwood and things. So it means that the mind has to be fed properly. And so part of the feeding of the mind is done through physically through Ayurveda, what foods to eat, how to control your mind. And Bipin was saying today we should have had a lecture on Ayurveda here, because Ayurveda is the knowledge of life. You know, what to feed, what seasons to eat, what to eat in the morning, evening, herbs, and then the yoga, because yoga is dealing with giving the equilibrium to the mind. But the moon is always changeable. It has, in Vedic thing, it has 28 wives. So they are the lunar mansions, the nakshatras. So daily it has a different favorite thing. So it's got a different wife. It's not like genuinely has a wife, but in the temples you see usually moon with two wives, Rohini and Kritika. But the idea is that the moon wants something else. Today you're studying astrology, tomorrow you want something else. So how to manage that is a key area of understanding. So Saturn is the karma we cannot avoid. So Saturn is always, they say that Saturn is a planet that we like seeing going away from us. When he's coming to us, then he's a difficult energy. When he's moving away, so if you have a planet in Vedic Scorpio, then you are getting some Saturn experience. I think it's in Sagittarius in the tropical zodiac, but it's better to pay up. So it's like if you've got a debt, if you keep on collecting debt, then it becomes too big. So if you keep on paying it off regularly, then you are on a what we call a zero karmic footprint. You know, you have the zero. You know, when you're flying, they're saying you're creating all the footprint there that you're trying to create. So Saturn, when he's in the chart, natally as well as by transit, it is showing the karma we cannot avoid. That means certain things everybody has to face up to in life, and at certain times. So that is the karma we cannot avoid. This photograph is from a temple in Delhi. If anybody is going to Delhi, they have this huge Saturn there. He's about 30 feet high. and you can visit him, and then they have the 9 planets where they have the small Saturn. So he's the most popular planet to pray to. When you visit the planetary temples, the biggest and the grandest is for Saturn, because that's where the maximum people are going, and the most expensive one as well, because you can go and endless amount of people going because they understand this concept. And then Saturn is democratic, so all of us have to face his justice. So very key important thing about Saturn is you shouldn't think I'm an astrologer, so Saturn is not going to affect me. This is a very popular thing. The astrologers all feel, oh no, I know Saturn is going to come, so he's not going to affect. And then boom, he comes, and then you say, oh, I was unprepared for it. And in the mythology of Saturn, you see that he comes even to Lord Shiva. He cuts off Ganesha's head. He does everything. Ganesha's head. So he is the only deity he cannot trouble is Hanuman. And Hanuman is the monkey god. And when he comes to Hanuman, Hanuman says, okay, wait a sec. If you want to trouble me, okay, come on my back. I'll take you around the world 3-4 times. And so he's not unfazed because his devotion is very high. So he's not concerned with Saturn's effect. But generally, he's democratic, and specifically, the more successful you are, the more troublesome Saturn is. But he affects rich and poor, astrologers, non-astrologers alike. So he deals with pure democracy. And the fact that we are born means we have some karma to reconcile. All of us, we have some issues we have to deal with. And therefore, we should take Saturn's transit with that spirit, that we have something to deal with. So, and then we come to Rahu. So now we will look at Rahu. So this is Rahu. I love this picture of Rahu. You can see the black disc that I was talking about. That is the disc of Rahu, like the sun. He's the same size, and he's only got a head. He has no body. So he's just half the story, just the head. And you see the moon as well, and he's being driven by a tiger. Could be, sometimes the pictures can be deceptive, artistic license. They can have a tiger or a lion, but it's supposed to be, his mother is a lioness. So, and Ketu here, he has only no head. He has the head of the snake, but he has a body. And so both Rahu Ketu are our inner conflicts that keep fighting within to find answer for the eternal question. Rahu Ketu churn up the psyche so that we can learn to deal with the poisons, but also find Amrita, the nectar of immortality. Because everybody in this room, we are seeking, bliss. We want, by immortality doesn't mean you want to be endlessly, but we want a place where we are calm, happy, adjusted. So Rahu Ketu bring past life issues into our present lives, create struggles that we have to deal with, trying to fulfill our unfinished karma, creating new ones too that become issues for the future. So you see, while we are trying to seek the answer, we are all the time creating new dilemmas for ourselves. So, so the secret life of Rahu Ketu really is that they are the enemy within, what we created for ourselves, and with our own actions in previous lives, and Rahu Ketu reflect that. So they have got a status of the shadow planet. I already talked about this. So this is so Rahu Ketu are considered as the lord of karma. They represent the stumbling blocks in our life, which eventually lead to liberation and maturity of the soul. They entwine you in their law and cause and effect, creating disturbances, giving opportunities. So you see, the belief is that each life is separate yet joined together. So each life you live is like a bead. So very similar to this necklace that I'm wearing. These are the mala beads, rudraksh. So they are supposed to be each of the lifetime, each bead. But the interconnecting thread is Rahu Ketu. Ketu deals with the past and Rahu with the future. So they don't live in the present at all. One is concerned about the past, one is concerned about the future. And this is what we do in our lives, because we are thinking this happened yesterday and what we want for tomorrow. So usually we are not thinking about what are we doing today, because we are afraid tomorrow we won't have the money, we won't have love, we will be lonely. Oh, this happened yesterday or 6 years ago or past life. So they represent opposite things, and so both of them bring moksha. Rahu can bring moksha or self-realization. Rahu by understanding the essential dissatisfaction of trying to fulfill desires and attachment to materialism. Because desire is unending. We fulfill one, it opens another head and another head. So one of the things with Rahu is that he learns through consuming life that is not the answer. You know, there are many people, they say, you are hungry, eat everything you want to eat. Because then you don't have that problem, the fear of eating. You know, because the fear you won't have enough food. So Rahu is, but it's in a material life that where at some place sometimes you say, that's enough, I don't need any more. So, and it's not just about consumer goods, it's about life itself. You know, we want more excitement. So Rahu, the lesson with Rahu is that at some stage you feel, I don't need more. So, and Ketu, by reconciling with past karma and letting go of our attachment to its fruits. So letting go of past and to also, the fruits of whatever the past is. So Ketu is like a book of our life. Within Ketu, you can say all the Akashic records of your life are written. So we may not know what that book is, but if you study where Ketu is in your chart, it will give you those aspects. But, you have to look at individual charts. You can't look, we could look at a celebrity chart or see something, but you see that aspect. So, so basically the thing with the nodes is that the key thing to understand about the nodes are they are opposite agendas totally, yet they are together. They are part of the same story. You see, the past and the future are not disconnected, but we feel they're disconnected. And in our charts, they're disconnected because they're always opposite, exact. They're the only planet that's always in opposition in our chart. So you see, and so many Western softwares don't give South Node at all. They just give the North Node. But actually the North and the South are the two oppositions in your chart. You may have no other opposition, but that is always there in all our charts. So we have an inbuilt opposition that is there. So in order to understand the nodes, we have to understand